Hello, everyone. This is Jeff at the Cyber Pro Podcast. We are at the Pacific Hackers Conference in Mountain View, California. And this is kind of different and special for us because unlike our typical podcast where we talk to cyber professionals, we have the opportunity this week and weekend to talk to what could potentially be the next generation of cyber professionals. And with that, my guest here is Ryan. He is a senior in high school. He's been doing a lot of self-study in and around cybersecurity. He's getting ready for college and wanted to kind of get his viewpoint of what he thought about cybersecurity and where he may want to choose to go with it. So with that, Ryan, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how things are going right now.
Things are going pretty okay, for the most part. As you mentioned, I'm a senior in high school, so college I'm sort of coming around right about now. I've been doing sort of cybersecurity side. I've actually been doing computer science since I was around 7th grade. I think I sort of encountered that thing. And then I've been doing, I found cybersecurity around 10th grade, summer of 9th grade-ish, and I've been doing that for a bit. And, it's been really great just getting to explore sort of like the whole cyberspace, the whole like getting into all the tools and like the methods and information that like is there.
You said something really interesting, explore. And you've been doing this for about 4 years now. I guess since 9th grade, you're in 12th grade.
Yeah.
I'm Asian. I'm pretty good at math. And so when you talk about explore, and we want to layer the question on top of that of we think and we believe and we know that cybersecurity is a top concern with the amount of data that we're seeing these days. From the perspective of somebody who might get into cybersecurity, what does that mean to you?
I guess like when we're talking about that, it's more like about cybersecurity as a constantly growing field, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me that's sort of been taking on. I guess when I think about that, it's thinking about how my experience has been learning about cybersecurity, because when you start learning, you really don't know what you're starting with, what you have to know, what's important to study first. So it's constantly learning about new things and then having to learn about those new things. And then with the arrival of like even more new things on top of that, I think it's just a continued process of like discovering something new that you suddenly have to know for whatever task you might be doing. Like I do a lot of CTFs, or actually like a some amount, I guess. I don't compare to some of the more rigorous students when it comes to that. But like whenever I encounter problems, like there's always something new to learn, like a new protocol, a new way of analyzing, a new way of using a tool that's already exists. And it's sort of that experience of just constantly learning. And with all this like new stuff coming in, it's just going to be repeating that process onward and onward into the future.
That is a very interesting comment. And we've heard something like that a couple of times over the week, which is there are always new things coming up and there's always the need to learn and continue to learn new things. And just before we started recording, we were talking about how, there's a generational gap a little bit between us and how we're the first generation that looks at our kids and goes, we can't tell you what to do in the future because we don't know what the world is going to look like in 5 years. And when you put what you said about, man, we just got to get good at learning and continuing to learn. How do you get to a point where you're able to keep yourself open to learning and accepting new things? Because there is so much data coming in and so many things to learn. How do you focus? How do you say, I want to go in this direction and stay the course?
I mean, I guess for me, that's a bit more of a personal question. I think for me, it sort of boiled down to what I was interested in at the start. Because at the start, I was super interested in like computer science because I really wanted to make games. And so that's why I took up coding. But then after a while, it's like I learned about binary and I learned about like the sort of the basic logic of how a computer worked. And it was the explanation of, oh, you have these ones and zeros and like the basics. And I was like, that doesn't explain sort of how this translates to what we get on a computer at all. I'm like, what is that? So when I came into computer the cybersecurity and I found forensics, that's just sort of what I wanted to explore. I really wanted to figure out how a computer worked, how ones and zeros became like memory, and then how that became RAM and like registers, and how that interacts with the CPU, and sort of how like the layers of abstraction build up and up. And I think it's super interesting because you see, like as you learn, it's sort of like a timeline, because it's like computer science, although it's been like a relatively short and long term history of like of human history. It's still a very long process of development and abstraction and building up and building up. Even if there's a lot of layers, there's a lot of layers to it, and a lot of layers of complexity. Even if some of it's redundant, or some of it's very confusing, or not even like well made. It's like there's so many layers that it becomes increasingly interesting to see how these different levels interact. At least for me. So that's what really drives me on to sort of continue learning. It's about seeing how old things come into play with new technology, and how things are constantly changing. It's like the pieces that you're playing with aren't ever really like changing around, but with the introduction of new elements, uh, like the interactions that can be made just constantly are I don't want to keep saying changing, but that's just how it is. It's like a new experience every time you go to interact with, like it looks all the same, but it's just new stuff.
Evolving, I think.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, and iterating from generation to generation and improving it with every step along the way. So that's fascinating. Well, we really appreciate your perspective because, again, you are potentially the next generation of cyber professionals, and seeing how you think and how you are open to continuing to learn and realizing that the world is moving so fast gives us comfort that, you guys are ready to take on, whatever comes next. So I guess my fourth and final question to you is, from this point in time, from your perspective, what is next?
I mean, for me, I think it's like there's obviously going to be the continued evolution of what currently exists. In the sense, we're going to get more with like even right now, there's a bunch of changing systems that are slowly overtaking old ones. Like IPv4 and IPv6. I think that's something that might happen in the future. Just like small improvements like that that'll slowly change and replace like currently implemented technology that's just slowly becoming outdated because new things are just constantly writing. But I think on top of that, like there's also going to be huge shifts later on due to things like quantum computing and artificial intelligence. And like that's a big thing because like I know a lot of people talk about it, but it's sort of a point where like everything changes for cybersecurity because it's like no one really knows how that stuff will interact on a large scale. Like personally, I think like in my opinion that it's like with these large sort of changes, people will start preparing beforehand, and there'll be sort of a if not like a small period where it's a little chaotic, and like things as like the sort of new systems are being defined, and like we're pushing the limits of what new technology can give to us, but it's gonna be a like slow process, and I think that's what like really changes that. I think the methodologies might sorry, I think the methodologies might remain the same, but sort of like the how we implement with it, or how we code it, or how we like do the very specifics of it might change.
Application.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Ryan, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. Again, this is the Cyber Pro Podcast. We're here at the Pacific Hackers Conference in Mountain View, California. And we hope you stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Cyber Pro Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on new podcasts and bonus content.